Hello YouTube. This is Copium Impact here. I wanted to make this into a video if possible. It may appear as a live stream on my channel just because that doing a live stream is easier for me to upload uh, rather than you know, recording a video file, saving it to my PC, which takes up storage space, and then having to upload that video file to YouTube or to um, Twitch, whatever platform that I want. Um, Today I actually wanted to talk about something probably a little bit more on the serious side. Um, it's gonna be uh, a talk or a conversation that I would say is quite heavy, and perhaps a little bit dark. So, just a fair warning to put it out there. In the background, just so that, I'm not completely silent during this entire video, I'm gonna basically be playing some uh, old footage of me playing Dark Souls 3 on Twitch. Um, and perhaps, hopefully, the gameplay can, I don't know, provide some sort of entertainment while I talk. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this gameplay um, video started, I guess. Um, so I wanted to make this video because last night I um I had some trouble sleeping, and this is quite normal for me. I don't really get to go to bed, easily every night. I don't know if it's insomnia or what it might be, but I'm not very great at falling asleep. Um, and last night I don't know why, but I had this I guess I had this drop in my emotions. Um, and I kind of I don't know, I kind of um, fell into a little bit of a depression maybe, where I didn't feel amazing. I felt very sad and not really, yeah, I don't know. I felt very insecure and vulnerable. Um, and it kind of hit me full force, last night. I think that I've been kind of down in the dumps for maybe the last month or so, maybe even longer than that. Um, I'm honestly terrible at keeping track of time, but yeah, I've been feeling kind of sucky lately, and I wanted to kind of get it off my chest and talk about it because I feel like when it comes to mental and emotional health, um, bottling it up and not being able to, you know, I guess not being able to have an outlet is not good for, you know, uh, mental and emotional health. It's not ideal. Um, so I guess I should probably start by, sort of talking about who I am and kind of giving some background context, right? So, um, as you can probably tell from this video, I am a young adult male, and in terms of age, I'll just say that I am over 2 decades old. That's as far as I'll go in terms of revealing my age. Um, but I will say that I am currently, I guess, a college student, right? Um, to kind of start from the beginning, right, and kind of explain how things got to where they were today. Uh, I graduated from high school about, I don't know, several years ago. It's been a while at this point. And when I graduated from high school, I was, I think, just like any other lost high school kid, you know. I didn't know what I wanted to do in the future. I knew what hobbies and interests I liked, but I didn't know if there was even a possibility of transforming that into um, like a career or a job in the future. I didn't know what I could do with that in my life. Um, and because, as a young adult, as a teenager, because video games was something that I really loved and enjoyed, I thought to myself, well, what is something that I could do as a career, as a job that would involve video games? And I think the very first, immediate thought that I had was, oh, well, that's easy. Computer science, right? Like everyone goes into computer science. If you know how to do programming and coding, then you can get into a video game, company and you can work on a video game. So I entered into community college because I did not care at all about, going straight into a four-year university or whatever. Um, I decided to go to a community college because it's one, more affordable, and two, a lot easier to get accepted into than a four-year university. Um, so I went to community college. I started taking courses, and I remember there were basically two classes. Well, one of them was in high school, but the second one was in college that I took. And these two classes were the two that made me stop and realize, that computer science was not for me. The first one in high school was physics. I took physics because, I had basically gone through all the other required science classes, and out of the choices that I had left, I think I took physics in either junior or senior year of high school. Um, I'm pretty sure physics was like what I thought was one of the best science classes that I had left to take. Um, so I decided to take physics. Um, Long story short, I ended up failing the class because I didn't put any effort into it. Um, But, I think the important thing that I took away from that class is that I absolutely despise physics. I hate it with a passion. It's not something that interests me, and I don't care about it in any way, shape, or form. Um, so, fast forward, I go to community college. The one class that I do take, which, shaped my thinking um, as I grew older, is I took calculus. And before taking this class, basically every single other previous mathematics class that I had taken in high school and in previous years, they were a piece of cake, super easy to do, right? Like I was pretty um, knowledgeable and skilled in mathematics. However, when calculus came around, first of all, it's a higher level of mathematics, and second of all, the environment that I was in was a community college, and I would say that compared to a lot of other community college courses that I've taken, this mathematics class in particular was quite different. It was basically on the level of a university class, um, or it at least like tried to replicate a university class because it was like very fast paced. It was yeah, it was like essentially a class where you had to keep up with the learning material every single day, every single week, every single month. You could not rest and take a break. If you fell behind the class, then you were lost. Like there was no way for you to really catch back up, you know? Um, and so, I ended up failing that class as well. I I I don't know if this is funny or comedic or anything like that, but what ended up happening is I remember I walked into the class on the day when I believe we had I don't remember if it was the finals for the class or if it was some kind of major exam that I had for the class. And I remember I walked into the class, I sat down, I picked up the test and I started looking through the questions, and I think I probably was able to answer, I want to say like 25% of the questions on that exam, maybe 50% at most. Um, and so what I ended up doing is I basically, answered as many questions as I was willing to, and after that, um, I essentially picked up my test, right? I picked up the papers and I walked over to the trash can. Um, and I basically threw my test away in the trash can and I walked out of the class. Um, Mind you, this was, so what I had done, I mean, I probably should have done this earlier, but I I waited until the end of the class. Like basically, I waited for, I don't know, what was it, like an hour and a half, and then the bell rang, right, to signify the end of class, and that means that you go and you walk over to your next class, right? So I waited until the bell rang and class was dismissed. I stood up and instead of turning in my paper to the professor, to the teacher, I walked over to the trash can and I threw my test in there. Um, I knew I had failed that class much earlier than taking that test. Um, so yeah, I failed that class and obviously I took away the realization that I absolutely fucking hate calculus. It's a dog shit class. It's a subject that I do not care about, do not care to learn. And not only that, but it is a subject which I feel like, you know, 90% of people in the world, 90% of students will not end up using calculus in their everyday life, in their job, in their career, in the future, unless they are going into some kind of, career that heavily revolves around mathematics and calculations and that sort of stuff. If you're going to be an engineer, if you're going to be an architect or whatever, sure. But for me as a person, I knew that for me specifically, I was never going to use calculus. Um, so after that experience, I ended up kind of yeah, I ended up, you know, sort of putting a pause on my education. Um, I decided that one, I no longer wanted to pursue a degree in computer science. And because of that decision, I had to then figure out what I wanted to do. Like, did I want to switch degrees and try taking some other classes or, try and find some kind of alternative out there? Um, so at the time, I was working at a fast food job, and I was earning kind of minimum wage. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was like maybe uh, 11 or $12 an hour, um, which here where I live, that was like considered the state minimum wage, I believe. Um, so I was working at a fast food job, and I had this coworker, um, and she, I remember she was telling me about how, she kind of found I guess like a career opportunity of sorts, um, basically this friend of mine, she said that she had found this program. It was essentially an internship program where you study and you take technical classes for a period of 6 months, and then after 6 months, you are given the opportunity to intern at a company. Um, some of these companies that you could intern at were pretty, popular, well-known tech companies, right? Um, and so you would intern at this tech company for, you know, another 6 months. And then depending on your performance, depending on um, whether or not you kind of fit in at the internship, you could potentially be offered a full-time job at that company, right? Uh, and so I heard about this internship program, and I thought to myself, you know what? What the heck? Like, I might as well try it out, see if I can achieve good results like my coworker did, right? Because essentially what she had said to me was that you can uh, study for a period of only 6 months, and then after that, you can essentially get yourself a job, and a pretty decently good job at that. So I was like, this sounds quite like a good deal. Let me check it out. And so I did. Um, Fortunately, I was um, accepted into the internship program. I applied to it, and they took me in. They said, yeah, you can go ahead and be a part of our internship program. Um, and so essentially, what I did was I chose to study database analytics for 6 months. There were, I think there were four different routes, four different, technical areas that you could study for this internship program. Um, but the thing is that, like, I think two of those um, technical fields that you could choose, they were located in a different city, a different area than where I lived. So I would have to commute to a different area and, um, I guess take classes in a different place if I chose one of the other two. But the two that I remember for sure were, you know, a part of the same area where I lived was database analytics, and the other one was like, um, I think it was like, what was the term for it? It was like something to do with business, right? Um, I don't remember if it was like business analytics or if it was like just kind of straight up kind of corporate business type stuff, very generic business uh, technical field. But I ended up choosing database analytics because I felt like it was probably the more, I don't know, profitable, um, maybe valuable technical field to study. And so I went through the internship program. I studied for 6 months, and after that, I was placed at an internship. Uh, I will say, looking back retrospectively, the time that I spent in this internship program, it was kind of weird. Um, the I think the easiest way to explain it is that the internship program, the organization that ran it, it was very, very poorly managed and kind of like, yeah, it was all over the place. It wasn't really a good experience looking back. Um, the only credit that I give to it is that I was able to be placed at a company for an internship, and I actually did end up getting a full-time job from it. Um, so, first things first, after I went through the 6 months of classes, right? So what happens is the organization that runs the internship program, they partner with several different local companies, and uh, each company, they will, communicate with the uh, organization, and they will say, hey, we have, you know, blank amount of internships available for students, um, and therefore, like, you can choose which students get placed at our company, based on what technical field they studied, and how, proficient you think that they are, or something like that. Um, and so, yeah, basically, what would happen is you would get assigned to a random internship company, without being able to have a say in it, without being able to choose, um, which company you go to, right? Uh, and the thing is that I think this might be common within the internship program, but it happened for me and my classmates, I guess you could call them, where there was like a small group of us who, um, did not get immediately placed at an internship. We were kind of delayed because, I don't know. It was probably because they couldn't find enough spots to fit us in, or something changed with the spot that they had reserved for each of us previously. Something, right? And so what ended up happening is that I got a delayed start, um, to my internship. I think while the rest of my classmates, they spent 6 months at their respective companies, I spent, only a period of like 5 months, I think. Um, and so the thing is that, a lot of my classmates, they were chosen to intern at a really, really big tech company, one that is national in terms of the US, and I would probably also say global. Like, I'm pretty sure that they have a really big global presence as well. But, I won't name any names. I'll just say that it was like a really, really big, prominent tech company, right? Um, and when I was given my internship assignment, I was placed at a completely different company. Um, and at first, whenever this happened, I was I was quite disappointed. I thought, oh man, all these other classmates, they made it into this like prestigious tech company, and I got placed at this other company which was also, well known. They were a big tech company, but they weren't quite on the scale of this tech company that everyone else was at. And also, the company that I was placed at was in a different, like, sector, different industry entirely. Um, so I was quite upset at first, but, I remember I was like, speaking to a couple of my classmates, and I was like hearing stories from some of these classmates, and some of the stories that I heard from them were basically talking about how, at this one very prestigious, very like, you know, I guess top tier, tech company, I heard some of my classmates saying that, their internship experience was not going amazing, right? They weren't having an amazing time during their internship. And meanwhile, while that was happening, I was placed at this other company. And to be honest, I was very, very much enjoying my time spent at this company. Like, there was really nothing I could complain about. Um, it was all very educational, but also on top of educational, it was enjoyable as well. Like, I had a team of people that I was placed to intern with. All of these people were, obviously, uh, they were full-time employees. I believe there was one guy who was there, and he was a previous graduate of the internship program. Like, he went through the exact same internship program I did, and he graduated from it. He was an alumni, and he was placed at that company, you know? Um, and I mean, I just had a really, really good group of people surrounding me on that team that were just simply really cool people that I enjoyed hanging out with and spending time with. And the thing that I really appreciate was that my internship manager, who was at the company, he was a very, laid back person, very chill, cool guy. He spoke to me and he told me, at the very beginning that he does not expect me to do any like serious work, and he does not expect me to uh, like produce any results for him. Like essentially what he wanted from me was for me to kind of observe the team and, you know, basically just educate myself and learn about what was happening in the team, what was happening in the company, and kind of get an understanding of it all. And he essentially said, you need to be like a sponge. You need to soak up all of this knowledge, all of this, you know, um, skill that you see being used on this team and being used in this company, right? You need to basically get used to a working environment in a corporate world. Um, and he allowed me to kind of have some freedom. I remember when I first started out the internship, the organization who, runs the internship program, they had this kind of, I don't know. I mean, like, I can understand the logic behind it, but I still think it was kind of a dumb rule to put in place where essentially, even back when we were taking classes, taking the technical classes, we were required to like dress up and essentially be, look fancy, right? And so like at bare minimum, we would have to show up with like slacks, business pants, and then we would also have to show up with like kind of a formal shirt, right? It didn't have to be a dress shirt, it didn't have to be like a full suit and tie, but it had to be like a professional looking shirt that you would wear at like a business meeting or something like that, something kind of business casual. And so they kind of drilled it into us that we had to dress up as if we were some kind of company executive, right? And so I remember at the beginning of my internship, I showed up and I was like kind of all dressed up. I actually did have like a dress shirt, I had a tie, I think I had like a business kind of suit or like a business jacket on top of my dress shirt. Um, it looked like I was, ready to go to prom or something like that. And looking back at that, it was kind of dumb, kind of cringy. Eventually, I I was told by my coworkers and by my internship manager that like I don't need to dress up. I don't need to look fancy. And so I remember slowly, as time went on, I got less and less formal with my dress up. Obviously I still tried to put some effort into how I looked each day. I didn't want to go in wearing, you know, um, a wrinkly old t-shirt and sweatpants or whatever. But I definitely did not do the business suit. I didn't do the tie, anything like that. Um, so yeah, I interned at this company and I had a great time, honestly. I really loved my experience here. And after that, I was very fortunate in that my internship manager, he put in a good word for me. He spoke to this one manager who was in a completely different department, completely different team, and he was like, "Hey, this young kid, this intern, uh, me, is looking for a full-time job. Do you have any open positions on your team? And I applied to an open position that was there, and I was interviewed for that position, and fortunately, I was able to be accepted for that position. You know, I was very, very nervous because I remember during one part of the interview, there was a gentleman who he wasn't a part of the team directly, but he worked alongside the team that I was applying for. He interviewed me and he asked me a lot of like technical questions, right? He asked me about like, oh, how do you do X or how do you do Y? Um, and the stuff that he asked me, it was stuff that I had supposedly learned about previously, whether it be, you know, during my internship or whether it be during the 6 months of technical classes that I took, right? Like at some point I had learned what he was talking about. However, it had been um, quite a while since I learned that stuff, and because it was stuff that I did not use very often, I didn't use it on a daily basis. I had forgotten how to do it, and I had forgotten how to like explain it, you know? And so I remember like I was being interviewed, and I straight up told this person who was interviewing me, this guy, I told him, I was like, hey man, to be honest, my memory's fuzzy. I don't really remember how to do a lot of this stuff. Um, and he reassured me. He basically said, it's totally okay. I'm just testing you to see, what is the extent of your technical knowledge and your technical ability. And yeah, after I interviewed, I don't remember how long it took, but after I interviewed for the job, I eventually did get confirmation that I was accepted for the position, and I think it was within a relatively um, timely manner that they reached out to me, which was really neat, really cool. Um, so I had a full-time job at this big tech company that I was very, very proud of, very happy with, you know. It was something that I consider myself very lucky and fortunate to have been able to get because, yeah, essentially you had a young kid, I call myself a kid, right? Um, who only had like basically 6 months of technical training, and here I was with a full-time job at this company. Um, and to be honest, I will say that my job, uh, a lot of my job, I would say like maybe 80 to 90% of my job was nothing more than customer service type work, right? Like we would have customers and I would serve them, right? Obviously, these weren't your typical customers that would buy products and whatever, but they were still customers of our company and of my team. Um, and yeah, so I held on to that job position, I think, for I want to say roughly a year, maybe a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and yeah, so I held on to this job position. Unfortunately, what happened is the company I was at, they went through some major uh, leadership changes, right? Like the people at the very, very top of the company, the CEO, CFO, all those guys, um, they had a big change in leadership at the top. And because of that change in leadership, there were some company layoffs that happened. There was actually two different waves of company layoffs. And unfortunately, I was included in one of those batches of layoffs. Looking back, it's not a surprise because I was basically some brand new employee who essentially knew nothing and who didn't have a lot of time and experience at that company. So I was what you could call expendable, you know? So yeah, I was laid off by the company. They, gave me the severance package and all that good stuff, right, for laying me off. Um, and after after I was laid off, for quite a while, I think for several months, I was, kind of on the lookout for a new job. Um, I was on the different job websites and I was kind of looking around, hunting for my next new career, my next new job. Um, Long story short, uh, the layoffs actually ended up happening almost immediately before the beginning of the global pandemic, of the coronavirus pandemic. This happened like maybe a couple months before the pandemic kind of started, impacting the entire world and becoming an international problem. Um, and yeah, as you can guess, when the pandemic hit, uh, jobs were very heavily impacted. I if I was struggling to find a job before the pandemic, it only got worse during the pandemic, right? Um, and eventually, after, sending my resume out so many times, after writing so many different cover letters, I got tired and I gave up, I quit searching around in the job market. And I had conversations with my parents, um, and my parents have always been the type of people who really, really pushed for education and pushed me for excellence, right? So basically, uh, my parents, what they said was, I have two options. I can either um, you know, go and try and find a brand new job and a new career, right? I can try doing that, and I can try working full time. Or if I wasn't going to be working full time, then I needed to basically go back to school and continue my studies. Um, yeah. And so I decided, you know what, screw it. I'll try going back to school because I felt like we were in a pandemic and, you know, me being a person that doesn't have a formal education degree, I wouldn't really be able to achieve anything at all. I had a 0% chance of success. Um, so I thought, well, maybe if I can get a degree, at the bare minimum an associate's degree, I might have a chance, perhaps, right? And so I kind of took a moment to think and consider maybe, what type of degree I should go for, perhaps. And at the end of the day, I settled on studying psychology, mainly because, you know, in terms of other fields of study and other kind of subjects to take and learn in school, psychology was probably one of the only ones that I didn't dislike, right? All the rest of the subjects, all the rest of the fields of study were boring to me. I couldn't care less about them. Um, and maybe I would care at least a tiny bit about psychology and put in the effort, right, to study and learn. And I thought to myself, like, oh, well, we're in a pandemic, and right now in the pandemic, there's like basically one major industry that is becoming increasingly important, and that's the health industry, right? In terms of physical health, mental health, and emotional health. And, what does what does psychology have to do with? Mental and emotional health, right? Um, Obviously, it does also dive into physical health a little bit, but it's not like the same as becoming a surgeon or, becoming a dentist or optometrist or whatever, right? Like a psychologist is different. Um, so, yeah, let's see. I think that basically leads up to today, like right now, this current time and day, as of me recording this video. Um, to explain, I'm currently taking 3 classes at my community college. I have one, a culture and ethnic studies class. This is like kind of one of your standard preliminary classes that you're forced to take in order to, um, get an associate's degree, right? Or if you do plan to go to like a 4-year university, it applies towards your transfer degree as well. Um, the second class that I'm taking is called International Studies, which is kind of sort of related to culture and ethnic studies, except for this class, instead, it kind of dives more into um, world issues and, like, you know, the world's political um, and economic, you know, I guess, areas, right? Rather than being solely focused on uh, culture and ethnicity and whatever, it focuses on all aspects of a society, right? Um, International studies is, again, one of those other classes that you kind of take in order to earn the credits that applies towards your associate's degree or your transfer degree or whatever, right? And then the third class that I'm taking is actually something related to the career field, which is psychology. I'm taking a psychology class. Um, Previously, I took the beginner psychology class, which is Psychology 100, and right now I'm currently taking Psychology 200, which is the, sequential next class after 100. Um, to be honest, uh, reflecting on, my education experience so far, I feel like I'm taking these classes solely for the letter grade and solely for, the GPA, and I'm not actually learning anything from these classes, to be completely truthfully honest. I read all this information from textbooks. I learn whatever it is, whatever assignments that I have each week. I learn about the material that I need to learn about. And then after I finish the assignments, after I take the quizzes and tests, I basically forget about that knowledge because it's irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter. Some of the information that is taught is very like, I don't know. It's basically what I would call common sense. It's something that I don't need a college textbook to teach me. It's something just so obvious, right? Um, and so, yeah, basically, I'm I'm in a place where I feel like, you know, I'm just I'm going through the motions and I'm doing what is expected of me, but I'm not gaining anything valuable out of it. It's not helping me. It's not, doing anything for me. Um, on top of that, you know, every single week, for 2 of the classes that I have, um, I am required to write a minimum of 2 different essays each week. Um, on top of that, there are some weeks where I have to write maybe 3 essays or, 4 essays or maybe 2 essays and one additional assignment or something, right? And, these these assignments that I'm doing, uh, they take up quite a lot of time because, you know, I'm not someone who can easily rush through assignments and kind of pump them out. And another thing is that, uh, you know, I feel like I get quite distracted pretty easily. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I watch a lot of Twitch streams, and I like I like partaking in my hobbies and interests. I like being entertained, and so because I am studying remotely, I'm studying online. I have access to my PC at all times. It's so insanely easy for me to get sidetracked and distracted from working on schoolwork. And I've tried basically like, closing my different tabs on my PC and only keeping my school assignment open on my PC and having that be the primary focus of what is showing on my PC screen. Um, I've tried that method. I've tried basically shutting everything except for my school assignment off. Um, and it does kind of help to some extent, but I feel like what happens is I'll be working on the assignment for like half an hour or maybe an hour or something. And after I've been doing that assignment for a period of time, I get burnt out and I get tired of doing it and I have to take a break from doing it, right? Which is not optimal because then I go and search for distractions and I get sidetracked and lose my focus entirely. Um, yeah, and so to kind of speak about this week specifically, right? Um, my psychology class that I'm taking, I don't remember when it was like made available, um, when it was like uploaded online by the teacher, but there is an assignment that I have to do, and it is going to be like the due date for the assignment is going to be 2 days from now, which is Sunday, right, of this week. Um, this assignment is basically an interview where you have to find a person, you have to formally interview that person by asking them 50 questions minimum, and then what you have to do is you have to document their answers and you have to write an essay. And if you read the rubric of the assignment, uh, the teacher has said that your essay will end up being anywhere in between 10 to 12 pages long. And I think out of all the classes that I've taken um, in college and out of my experiences so far, this is currently the biggest assignment that I've ever received. This is the biggest assignment that I've ever been required to do, 10 to 12 pages of an essay. I don't think I've ever experienced anything uh, more than this previously. Um, I believe that the assignment was uploaded to, the online website. It was uploaded maybe like a month ago or something like that. So the teacher did give us a good, you know, I think a decently good amount of time to, you know, start on this assignment and to, you know, I guess prepare for it in advance. Like it wasn't something that I would blame the teacher for. I don't think she did anything wrong or that, this is unfair to the students. But I think that, the main complaint that I have about this assignment and my current studies is that I feel every single week I'm overwhelmed. I have quite a lot of school assignments to do every week, and because of these assignments, it is cutting into one my free time in terms of like when I want to play video games or when I want to watch YouTube videos or watch movies or whatever. It's cutting into my free time. And two, it's also cutting into the time that I have to earn money, you know. I don't think I mentioned this before, but as of right now, I am quote unquote self-employed, right? I have a job that I can earn money from, but it is one of those jobs where essentially you work whenever you want to work and you get paid depending on how many hours you put in. Or actually not even that, because basically like what you do is you go online, quote unquote, you go online, you clock in to your job or whatever, right? And in this job, you will receive like requests from customers, and you can fulfill those requests, and the customers will pay you money for fulfilling that request, right? Uh, and so, like, there are times whenever a lot of customers are requesting assistance. There are times when there are no customers that are requesting assistance. So basically, the amount that you can earn on a daily basis, even per hour, it fluctuates very, very much so. Like you could one day earn, $25, and then the next day you could earn $150 or something, right? It all depends on, the demand of customers, and also it depends on how many hours you are, working on that day. If you obviously, the more hours that you work, the more opportunities you will get to earn money. Um, so I have this quote unquote self-employed job, and the thing is, with the school assignments that I have, it has significantly drastically decreased the amount of time that I have been able to essentially quote unquote clock into work and earn money. Um, and the thing is that I would say that, I'm not necessarily in trouble. Like, I'm not struggling really that much, but I do think that, I'm kind of a little bit in a tight spot in terms of finances and money. I need to be earning as much money as I can. I need to be um, working as much as possible because I have bills and I have expenses that I need to pay for. And so I think to kind of summarize what I'm feeling in like one main sentence or statement is at this point, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I'm barely able to keep my head above the water and tread in very, very deep water, right? I feel like I'm in the middle of a giant ocean with no land, no support around me, and I'm just treading water, and I'm, slowly but surely losing energy and getting closer and closer to fully drowning. Um, yeah. Uh, Another thing that I can talk about, another thing that has been on my mind, um, I basically have, I would say, two primary friends in real life that I would spend time with and that I would hang out with quite often, you know. Um, One of them is a person that I would frequently hang out with on Discord, and I would, you know, have voice calls with them, and I would sometimes play video games with them. But we would also, you know, if we were available, we would meet up and we would go grab some food together, you know. Um, and I would say that this person, right, he you could probably, say that he is my best friend or one of my best friends that I have at the moment in my life. Um, this friend of mine, uh, I don't really know exactly why. I have yet to really talk to him about it, but about like, I want to say about a month ago, maybe a little bit longer or a little bit shorter than a month, um, he stopped communicating with me. He like basically cut himself off, and I haven't received any messages from him or anything like that. I haven't spoken to him in quite a long time. Uh, to be honest, I don't know whether it has something to do with me. I don't know whether it has something to do with his current life situation and he maybe has his own personal issues that he's working through, but it definitely has left a significant impact on me. Um, I feel a lot more alone, right? And I have another good friend of mine. We don't spend too much time hanging out together, but I would speak with this friend. I would like text back and forth with them quite often. And this was a friend of mine who I would usually go to restaurants and eat with. You know, I would go out and eat food with them. I would also go and watch movies in the theaters with them, right? I would go and watch movies that were popular and that I was interested in. I would also go and watch anime movies with this person in theaters. And I consider them a very dear, close friend of mine that, you know, I guess I could say that they were sort of like family to me in a sense. Um, this friend, we met up a little while back. I want to say, yeah, about like maybe a month ago, or I don't know. It was quite a while back. We met up and we grabbed some food together. And I spoke to this friend, and they told me, they gave me the news, and they said, "Hey, I recently got accepted for a home loan from the bank, and they were like, I'm planning on purchasing a house for me and my family, um, and they let me know, they were like, I'm most likely going to be moving out of state. I'm going to be moving to the area where my parents were, or their parents are located. Um, and so they let me know, and yeah, they basically said maybe sometime this month or sometime next month, which is February or March, they will most likely end up moving out of state. Um, and, you know, I'm very, very happy for this friend. I definitely am very proud of them. And, I am just, I guess, I'm glad that they were able to figure out um, a housing situation that worked for them. Like it's fantastic news. I can't say anything about it. Um, but obviously for me, this means that I'm gonna be losing a really good friend of mine, and our contact is going to be a lot less frequent, and it's going to be a lot more distant between each other, right? I won't be able to go out and eat at restaurants with them anymore, and I won't be able to go and watch movies with them anymore. And, the hard thing, the tough thing for me is that uh,
this one friend was basically the only person that I would go and watch movies with. Like, I don't normally go and watch movies with other people, especially anime movies, because I don't really have any other friends of mine who are interested in that sort of stuff, right? Um, and the one friend of mine who I would consider myself close with, uh, the friend who I haven't spoken to in about a month or so, um, I could and would ask them if they wanted to hang out a lot more, but one major problem is that they live in a different city than I do, and the city which they live in is, I want to say it's like maybe, assuming that there is no traffic or bare minimal traffic on the road, it's like a 30 to 45-minute drive away from where I am. And with traffic, it can go up to like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of a drive to get to where I live. So it's not really convenient for neither the friend nor for me uh, for us to meet up too often. Um, yeah. So I would say that, like, with all of this being said, with everything I've mentioned so far in this, recording, I've just been feeling really, really shitty and really, you know, depressed as a person. Um, and I keep wanting to think and tell myself like, hey, you know, things are gonna get better, things are gonna improve. Just be patient, wait, you know, um, continue to have a positive mindset, right? But right now, things are things are pretty tough, and I am not really in a great place mentally or emotionally. Um, you know, I feel like I should bring this up because it's something that matters and something that is important. So I'll go ahead and mention it. Um, right now, the world situation is kind of fucked up. Um, as of recently, we had Russia and Vladimir Putin. He decided that he was going to launch an attack on Ukraine and essentially completely fuck up any sort of world peace that we had at the time. Uh, I honestly have no idea what is going to happen. I barely even know what is currently happening at the time because I really have like no knowledge of politics or economics or anything like that. Um, that's not something that I'm super familiar with. And so, you know, I don't know what the current events are going to bring and what's going to happen because of them. I don't know what the result is going to be. Um, it's definitely very scary times, for everyone in the world, especially for people who live in the country of Ukraine. Um, to those who are affected by the world issues, I want to say, you know, please stay safe and stay healthy. I'm wishing the absolute best for you. And to anyone out there in the world who is going through any sort of hardship, any sort of struggle that, you know, is hurting you, I wish you the absolute best. I hope that you are able to persevere through it and to, you know, overcome whatever obstacles and challenges that there are in your life. Um, I I think that me as a person, I'm generally someone who is very pessimistic in my outlook on life, and you know, I don't really have I don't really have much hope for myself. I don't really have much faith in myself. Um, I think that I'm kind of fucked over and my life is kind of a shit show. But, you know, I basically, the bottom line is I hope that no one else has to go through pain and hardship um, like I have to. No one else has to suffer in life, right? Um, no matter whether your hardships are minor or major, I only wish happiness for everyone. You know, it's not uh, it's not it's not something that I like to, I guess, take lightly. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like by recording this video, by talking about these things, I feel a sense of guilt because I feel like I'm being selfish and I feel like you know, I am crying and whining and bitching about my own life while people out there are probably experiencing worse than I am in the real world. But I don't know. I basically, at this point in time, I don't have anyone really to talk with about what I'm going through psychologically. And because I can't really talk to anyone about this stuff, it hurts and I feel like I need to have some sort of outlet, some sort of release, a way to vent and a way to, let out my frustrations uh, in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, I don't know, my mental health, my emotional health may deteriorate even further, and that could be very dangerous for me. So, yeah, anyways, I think that's basically the end of the video. Um, for anyone who is watching that, is subscribed to my channel and primarily watches my content for, funny clips and content from, you know, uh, other people like Ziox, obviously, he's probably the main reason why my channel actually grew so much is that I was uploading clips of his Twitch streams. I kind of want to, you know, uh, share a message with you all that as of right now, I don't really know whether or not I will be uploading more clips of him um, in the near future. Uh, I have a lot going on in my life, especially with school, and school is the main thing that is kind of stopping me or hindering me from, you know, uh, from doing what I like doing, which is uploading videos, doing Twitch streams, watching videos, and watching streams as well. I can't really do that stuff uh, without like sacrificing my sleep um, and without sacrificing my health, basically. So for the near future, I would say like maybe for the next week at minimum, uh, don't really expect any clips or anything like that to be uploaded. Um, I really do hope at some point I can eventually get back to it and I can eventually upload clips again. But yeah, no, I'm probably going to be quite, I guess, silent on YouTube. I'm not really going to be uploading much. I'm not really going to be doing much. So, anyways, um, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop here. This is a good stopping point of the video. For anyone who has watched all throughout this entire recording, I want to thank you. Honestly, I think that this recording is way too long and it's kind of hard to sit through. But, I thank you for listening to me. and I want to say I wish the absolute best, nothing but the best for everyone and anyone out there. Um, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, rest of your night, rest of your week, month, so on and so forth. And hopefully the world situation can improve and get better because I hate living through these shitty times. Anyways, this has been Copium Impact. I don't know when my next upload or when my next stream will be, but in any case, I will see you guys later at some point. Alright, peace out.